Dear Imelda, "Join us" is a quote from the 1981 movie The Evil Dead, in which a soulless demonic entity calls for the living to join it in the depths of hell. I was reminded of this scene today when I happened upon your woeful poem, "You Don't Get to Be Irish and Racist," whereupon you uttered these two words to Irish people that you so detest. It would be fair to say the demon in the movie at least sounded a little bit less forceful and less annoying than you, and probably wasn't a state actor either. It also probably wasn't demanding people join a Marxist cult, which is what it could be argued you were doing. Who exactly do you think you are? You said in your poem, quote, "We're shouting to tell you our land, our laws are progressively out there. We're in a chrysalis state of emerging into a more beautiful era. 40 shades better, unanimous in our rainbow vote. We found our stereotypical pot of gold. So join us because you don't get to be racist and Irish." Did you know, Imelda, it's not progressive to tell people they must adhere to your way of thinking, or else they have to give up their national identity and Indigenous rights? And am I right in thinking that you seem to think immigrants coming in are more Irish than us? Because it sure seems like that's what you are saying. And what does it mean to be racist exactly according to you? Are we racist if we expect controlled borders that honour the public safety of all, Irish and non-Irish alike? If we expect immigration laws to be enforced, or expect our Irish-born citizens to be taken care of, or expect our working class communities not to be flooded with unsustainable numbers of anonymous undocumented people, who themselves are living in conditions that you would not live in yourself, conditions they will probably never leave? Are we racist to be concerned about the greed involved in this human trafficking scam? Is it racist that we don't approve of human beings being used like cattle, crammed into glorified farm sheds for profit? Are we bad people for thinking it's wrong for children to grow up in abnormal conditions instead of family homes? And is it awful of us to be worried about the increase in crime or the breakdown in social cohesion? Are we terrible people for not supporting this false narrative of humanitarian duty? Or are we terrible people to be worried about our children? And is it so bad that we don't want to import cultural attitudes relating to women and girls that are incompatible with our own? Regardless of what your definition of Irish racism is, you simply don't get to tell us who we are or are not. You don't get to take our identity because you do not agree with us. You're coming off as possessed rather than inspired or impassioned, like a paid-off establishment minion pushing the increasingly insane narrative and policies of a government who wish to be tyrannical on behalf of those they work for in the EU and beyond, who have agendas that go beyond helping migrants. They are the enemy to the people of Ireland, and so are you. Of course, you have form when it comes to using your influence to manipulate and push agendas for the state in a narcissistic fashion. On the 18th of May 2021, you posted on X, "Vaccinated, emotional, grateful," to which someone astutely replied underneath, "There's a Jonestown vibe off this," in reference to the infamous Jim Jones cult. They were bang on the money in my opinion, and here you are once again showing that you are happy to push agendas. Who the hell are you to tell us we don't get to be proud of our, quote, heritage, plights and fights for freedom? Who the hell are you to tell us we can't sing rebel songs we wish to preserve far more than you do by ensuring we are not a minority in our own country within decades? More blacks, more Irish, more dogs, you say, as the Indigenous people slowly fade to grey. You talk of it being time to, quote, return the favour because we immigrated and emigrated. For 800 years, we were one of the most colonised nations in the world. We were genocided when non-potato sources of food were shipped out of the country during the famine. Our people were used as slaves. And those who are part of this Marxist cult have the cheek to call that slavery indentured servitude because illiterate people signed contracts they couldn't read. So specify, please, who are we returning the favour to and for what? Did the whole world come and rescue us all those years ago, our ancestors? No one welcomed us in and handed us anything. Those who left to work shed blood, sweat and tears to make even the most meagre of wages. And the slaves got nothing. But even you know this despite your captured mind full of dangerous Marxist ideology. Another thing you say in your poem is, our music is for the righteous and our joys are earned. But is it only us Irish people who must earn them? Or are they free for those who destroy their documents to conceal the fact they shouldn't be here? If Irish people were flooding Africa or the Middle East, which we're in no danger of doing, seeing as we have a tiny population and country compared to billions in those regions, would you tell those people that they do not have the right to be African or Middle Eastern for objecting to being flooded with numbers of foreigners they cannot cope with? And what makes you think you can tell us who we are, what to think, be, feel, or say? When did you become such a fascist? Or were you always this way? Is this what you have to do to stay relevant? And what did the people of the Liberties think of you now? Or do you even care? There's a saying from inner city Dublin, a challenge to cowards, which you would have heard people say many a time growing up, and it is this: come over here and say that. And as I watch you sitting in the cushy confines of your home with all your privilege around you, I wonder, would you have the bravery to tell inner city Dubs or any Irish person to their face that they don't get to be Irish just because they have reasonable concerns? I think not. Rudolf Steiner once referred to a legend in his writings, in which it was said that Ireland was the most special place on earth, for when Lucifer came up from the realm below, his evil touched every nation except this little island, which he could not enter. Sadly, I think those days are over, as something foul has taken over this land in the form of dark agendas that are being replicated in all culturally Western nations. Radical leftism and dead-brained, dangerous, useful idiots have embraced those agendas wholesale and have conjured up more harm than any evil entity could ever do. Harm that is dragging this country straight into the pits of hell. But there is hope. You say we're evolving into a more beautiful era, and indeed, as the Irish people rise, this is obvious. And no one, not you, radical leftists, the captured media, or government quangos or quislings, will ever take away the fact that we are Irish and forever will be. And the more we find our voice, the more this is true.